your show is called CoinPass as well.
CoinPass podcast. Yep.
CoinPass podcast. Okay.
This is a podcast. We do the recording and the audio.
So you're good. You're sitting pretty. Nice. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. All right. Are we ready, Matthew? Captain Ahad?
Yes.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. Let us begin then. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hello and welcome to Digecon Live. We have a very special show today. We have Jeff Hancock streaming all the way from London, from CoinPass. So I'm going to just welcome Jeff and take it away, Jeff. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Christian. It's really good to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the show. It's been a while since we've been in the same place, while you were visiting London. So it's obviously great to reconnect with you over live stream.
Great. Jeff, can you just tell us a little bit more about your podcast, the kind of content that you have on it, and let us know what can our viewers look forward to?
Yeah, for sure. So we just launched the CoinPass podcast recently. We're on all the major platforms, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, etc. And you can find us just doing CoinPass podcast, fireside chat style podcasts. So we wanted to, follow a little bit of a trend and get really good, knowledgeable people on the show. We want to talk about topics, topics in fintech, finance, trading, blockchain, crypto, etc. And actually talk about real topics that create really good, valuable content. We'll do a few interviews here and there. We mostly want to create really valuable content about the space, investing businesses, due diligence, compliance, regulations, where the blockchain space is going, where the crypto space is going. And it's been great so far. We've had a really, really cool lineup of guests. We're still in a pre-production of about 4 episodes at the moment, and recording about 2 or 3 a week at the moment. So it's been a wild ride for a launch, and I'm looking forward to carrying it forward for the rest of the year.
Amazing. That sounds great. So tell me, this is a very crazy time. In the world, in the globe, but then especially last week with the Twitter hack, and then everyone blacklisting TikTok. What is the answer from the blockchain community? What is the answer from DeFi to respond to these situations?
Well, there's a couple of really interesting points there, right? The Twitter one, for instance, there's a lot of negativity on the side of that, and there's a lot of purists which show, how powerful something like a cryptocurrency can be. So let's kind of break it down a little bit first. Think about the Twitter hack. It happened on it had, a lot of censorship around it, around certain political figures, around, freedom of speech, and Twitter hasn't ever been that proactive about cleaning up spam accounts and bot accounts and all that kind of stuff. So, a hack of this kind of size, where the hackers used, Twitter's API and software to obviously gain access to one of their central systems or one of their staff machines, or however that hack was carried out. But it was an admin tool that essentially had, read and tweet access across all of these major accounts. And they clearly done their research on who to target, how to penetrate the system, and which accounts they wanted to access, right? If you think about it for a golden child moment, if you had that sort of access to Bill Gates' Twitter, Elon Musk's, all the major crypto guys, literally though, you had the power of Twitter in your own hands, would you really tell everyone to send you Bitcoin? And what did they make out of it? 250, 300K? It wasn't that much. Imagine having that sort of power and having some leverage trades out there on, some Forex platforms and stocks or whatever is going. They could have done so much more damage to any other sector or any other market they really wanted to, but they chose to try and get some Bitcoin donations, which kind of perplexes me a little, because it's the worst money laundering tool on earth. It's transparent, it's immutable. Everyone's watching those wallets now. all the major exchanges, including us, are watching, those wallets as they move about, and they could keep, splitting the transactions up and making smaller and smaller amounts and trying to spread it out. But essentially, as soon as they hit an exchange that comes down that tree of transactions, kind of screwed. You're not going to be able to spend the money unless you go and mix it or use, face to face or some other, some other method. But it's a huge wasted opportunity in the malicious sense. And I think what the blockchain and the crypto community showed is, Twitter isn't rock solid. It is exceptionally centralized, and that when it comes to the whole no, not your keys, not your coins, etc. It's the same with Twitter. You do not own any of the data there. You are simply renting a bit of space, and it can be easily manipulated with people with the right skills to pay the bills.
The right skills to pay the bills. You heard it first from Jeff over here. I love that. Now, that's really interesting. And yeah, I really do think if these were malicious folks, I did read a Forbes article that interviewed some of this team of hacker friends. Apparently, they were obsessed with short names on social media or something like that. One of them was at Y or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Apparently, that was the situation. So they were not necessarily malicious folk that wanted to crash some stocks and make billions. So yes, you're right. It is perplexing why they even did it. I'd love to find out why, because I don't think it's actually, in the end, it's not a very complicated issue. It's not a complicated hack because these are not malicious, super villains at all.
I suppose everyone picked it up super quickly as well. It's like, why is Bill Gates, Elon Musk, CZ from Binance, every other major big account all asking for the same thing, for the same address? It was very easily spotted, and like I say, it was a wasted opportunity on their part. They could have done much more malicious damage. They could have chosen, the back of the Wirecard scandal. They could have chosen any particular challenger bank. They could have chosen any large big pharma and said, these guys are doing something bad or malicious. Create a whole PR SEO piece and crash a particular share on the market, and they would have made a hell of a lot more money. And it probably would have been impossible to find. But they chose a very decentralized, highly transparent way for a very very ineffective scan, basically.
Exactly. You know what? In the end, all of these scams, all of these attempts to make cryptocurrencies that aren't really cryptocurrencies, they do, in a sense, bring more light to Bitcoin, that Bitcoin has never been hacked. Never, ever, ever. Right? Correct. Right? So, but tell me, Jeff, so you yourself, as someone who's made a product in the cryptocurrency space, how are you going to go about, there's still going to be doubts about Bitcoin, and there's going to be repercussions from this event. How are you going to, and maybe you can explain your product a little bit more, and how you're going to address what has happened in the market?
Sure. So I think it comes down to press, really. It depends on how you are acquiring customers, how you treat those customers, and what you're doing to contribute to the space. Which I like to think that we try our hardest to do the best we can. So we're a fiat on-ramp cryptocurrency exchange and an investment platform where people can buy, sell, trade, and hold crypto. They can connect with their bank account in just a few minutes. In pound sterling, and pretty soon euro as well. And we enable people to get from the regular fiat world, from pound sterling and euro into crypto, as faster, more reliably, and with better quality service than any of our competitors. And all of our reviews and feedback kind of show that. And I suppose what we endeavor to do, and what we're very passionate about, is education. Educating, not just the hottest new coin out there, or the hottest new topic, but the safe ways to invest into crypto. And how to access that the best way possible. So we write quite a lot of content. Obviously, the podcast is to help get some really relative topics out there as well. And we engage with our clients on social media. We don't have a signals channel or a trading channel, that kind of stuff. But we want to promote out there that this is not just an asset class to speculate on. It is also a way to do decentralized payments. It's a way to self-custody your wealth, which is really, really important when you start looking at the greater monetary system. And it's also a way to not necessarily get rich quick, but avoid getting poor slow. With all the rampant fiat currency printing that's going on at the moment with US dollars and with pound sterling, and and everywhere else. We are, potentially at one of those critical events now where the money that's in your bank account is not necessarily safe. What you were able to purchase, a few weeks ago, might not be the same tomorrow. We don't know that. Definitely over the history of any fiat currency, over a couple of 100 years or so, it will dramatically lose its buying power. And there hasn't been a single fiat currency that's ever survived in the history of any monetary policy. So I think what Bitcoin specifically and what crypto is doing now, because there's, a more legitimate presence around people that want to trade it, that want to use it, that like the technology, and a lot of the bigger players have been standing aside for a while, kind of watching how the space develops. And I feel it's developed very well in the last 10 years, all on its own without any kind of regulation. Not that it can be regulated, but I think now with, we've got stable tokens, we've got, central bank decentralized currencies that are being experimented on and played with. We've got decentralized finance applications, which have the ability to not just bank the unbanked, but give people access to financial products that they would usually not have any access to whatsoever, and not just be able to, custody their own wealth, but get access to something more than a bank account when some of these people struggle to have an address. I think there's so many positives out there that the tech and that crypto and the blockchain can deliver. And, that's why I'm almost bullish on it, because we're still yet to even get started.
True, very, very true. So, can we go a little bit deeper with the whole bank the unbanked? I think at this point it's so cliche, and
it is a little bit.
Can I meet someone banked? Can I get them on the show? Who are these?
Yeah, we could try and do that. Well, when you say bank the unbanked, it's a very it's a very big term. And bank the unbanked basically means this: someone who works either semi cash in hand. They may have trouble getting an address. They may be, I'm not just talking about third world countries and stuff like here. I'm talking about there are probably a lot of people even in London, one of the oldest financial hubs in the world, and there are people that work at sandwich shops, coffee shops, builders, cleaners, etc., and they work cash in hand. Or they can, only barely get a bank account because they have to, either struggle to get an address, or they live in shared accommodation, or, all of those kind of things that a normal bank account will ask for. Some of them find it very, very, very difficult just to live week to week or month to month, let alone have anything left to save, because it's usually eaten up by fees or middlemen or anything else, or a lot of the products that would generate them any sort of interest is too far out of reach. So what crypto can do, and just something simple like Ethereum and DeFi that everyone's kind of getting to know a bit more now, where the UI and the user experience really needs to catch up and people get educated on, is that you can deploy 5, 10, 50, 100 pounds into any kind of market making liquidity provider, like a Uniswap or another DeFi platform, and you can get a return on your money, because you're just balancing out two sides of an order book. And some of the really, really simple things like that will give, maybe 2, 3, 5% kind of return per year, which is obviously way better than any bank will ever offer. And you don't have to prove your address, and you can access, that sort of liquidity anywhere in the world. It's truly cross-borderless. And it definitely puts a bit of power back in their hands to be kind of self-reliant. Because the one thing that I suppose, back from my early days when, I was at my first job when I was 16 and I was doing data entry and, 2 jobs on the weekend and all that kind of stuff, is that, I didn't particularly want handouts. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to always kind of build up and build up. And I'm sure a lot of these kind of people simply just want to be, self-reliant and self-custody of their own wealth instead of having to rely on handouts or having to live week to week. That's probably the biggest thing I think this tech can do.
Wow, I love that. I love how you said before. What did you say? You said it's not about getting rich quick, but getting poor.
Avoiding getting poor slow.
Yeah, avoiding getting poor slow. And that's something that is so, this systemic, the structures of banking, of work, of governments that do keep poor people poor. Now, one of the main missions here on Digecon Live, which is part of Give on Live, please like the channel, please subscribe, because our mission is to empower creators. And I'm not talking about big time YouTube influencers only. I'm talking about creators from novices to ninjas. And that's what our mission is. I'd like to ask you, Jeff, so for some of these creators that are monetizing online, how would Bitcoin make a difference, or getting into this decentralized systems of things?
Well, first of all, it gives you a global audience. Literally, you can reach anyone on the planet that has a mobile phone. And if you're choosing whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's something else, you're opening up your barriers for your people that want to either tip you, want to do business with you, or whatever. And if you look back to 2014, there were some major retailer platforms that were looking heavily into Bitcoin and into crypto because of its decentralized fashion. And they were, European big retailers, they were American big retailers, and because of their regulation, because of the payment rails, because of ineffective banking, fintech, was still kind of starting to take off. There was this, this decentralized internet money that had value, that had traded value, that they could have a global presence by simply putting a QR code on the screen. And it would come in within anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, and they could settle the transaction, and then it was theirs to do what they want with. And that was okay. That's a really cool concept. So I can have a global audience with very minimal effort, and I can still sell the same product and leverage my existing marketing. I mean, there's a huge amount of win there, right? Looking at some of the platforms now that reward those kind of online creators, like your Instagrams, your Twitch TV, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. They still have their own, their own payment way, their own ways to monetize their content, right? And some of those content creators are like, look, follow me over here or do this, because if you want to tip me $5 or you want to tip me $100, whatever, the fees you're going to pay on that is really high. So they almost have,
Right.
they're using these platforms like Twitch and like the other ones, and they're almost saying, if you want to support me because you guys like me, and there's some content creators there that I absolutely love, that I will find a way to, donate to them so they get the most bang for buck, right? Not to screw over the platforms, not to screw over YouTube, but to deliver the most value as possible. These guys are doing this for a living, and making content for a living is hard. So if you want to support someone and having a way to give them 100% of what they owe, of what they deserve to earn, decentralized currencies and global access to an audience is huge for these kind of people. It could be the difference between surviving month to month and really building generational wealth for your family.
Generational wealth. That's brilliant. I wonder, have you done any studies basically on these fees? I know, I think lots of us have done studies on banking fees, but have you done any studies on, Twitch versus Instagram versus YouTube, but these fees involved for these creators? I know you have your own podcast, so you probably have considered where to stream your own content.
Yeah, I think the goal for us is we're not really looking at this point in time on the monetization of our content. I think right now where we're starting out is because we get traffic to our website based on, there are two types of intents when you're online, right? You've got a search intent. I'm searching for a question, an answer to a question. I want to get informed. Or I've got buying intent where I want to go and buy something. I want to go and buy some Bitcoin. I want a really good deal and I want it to be trustworthy, and etc. And we get quite a lot of the buying side traffic. What we're light on at the moment is the content and informative style traffic. So our goal for our podcast, at least, is to reach as many listeners as possible and add value, which brings a lot of the content search traffic side to our platform. So that's the goal for us. But if you're you've got a great podcast idea, you've got access to an audience, you can bring value to them, you want to monetize it, then choosing the right platform is definitely important. So that's probably one thing we skipped over initially in our planning and our strategy for our podcast specifically. There are decentralized platforms, in terms of the Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. I'm not up to date 100% on what each of those are and what are the what do you call it, the advantages versus disadvantages. But I mean, where it starts is liquidity. What station and what platform is super reliable, has an existing audience that you can leverage to get started, and how are you in a niche where you can make a name for yourself, and is there a fair way to have competition? And there might be some of those aspects, like especially on Instagram, for instance. Even if you have an audience and you have a promoted a promoted bit of content, you will only reach. Oh, you got a bit of echo.
Yeah. Stop.
There we go. You might only reach 5 or 10% of your audience, even though you're paying for it. You're paying Instagram or paying Facebook to get your content and your message out there, but you're only going to reach, a very, very small subset of that audience, which is pretty poor, really. It's a pay to play. So you have to kind of make an investment and then kind of make the investment back with reaching enough people. So I think it's definitely starting out. You need to start where the liquidity is, and then I think if you have a good audience, you can move to a different platform, or double down and stream across both if you're not breaking any T's and C's. But I think definitely research is paramount, and doing planning and executing a strategy, just like a business, just like any business. Treat it like a business, you get business results. Treat it like a hobby, and you get hobby results.
That's really nice. You have really good phrases. Do you have a background in marketing?
No, I didn't, but I've had a crash course over the last 2 years, talking to a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me about building product, producing, speaking in front of people, etc. And I'm naturally extroverted, so I like making things simple to understand people.
I love that. I really do love that. Great. So I have another question. So basically, what is the difference, you would say, in the community over in the UK as opposed to in other places in the world?
So community. So let's talk specifically about the crypto community. So I've been to a few other places, and I think they all kind of have their own strengths. I think specifically in the UK, where obviously I spend all of my time, we have a very close community that it doesn't really have an off switch, which is kind of good. I suppose, and bad, because you can never kind of go out just to be casual. But it can be a very casual crowd, kind of after the 5 p.m. kind of time. So if you're having a meeting with someone during the day, or it's in a big event or a group setting, people will have their networking hat on, and it is about business, and it is about mutual connections. We've got many of the WhatsApp groups that you're on as well. And during the day, where you're sharing content, sharing links. If I post something on LinkedIn or someone else posts somewhere, we all kind of go and read it and support that person, and play it forward, basically, because we're kind of all in this together. And I was actually having this conversation with a good friend of mine, Ollie, the other day. Is when we all started out, 2016, 2017, whatever it was, when the crypto scene really started hotting up in London, is we all stuck together. We're all finding, the best deals, the way to buy and trade and sell, new products, new platforms, new opportunities, etc. And as that's developed, and the people that have stayed in this space long term, have formed really, really strong relationships. And now a lot of us are doing our sales funnels are pointed outward from crypto into regular financial services, which is awesome. And the core people that we know really, really well are obviously still there, still promoting, and building those really, really strong relationships. Some of the other places I've been to, let's say, I haven't been to Malta per se. I have been around Portugal and parts of Paris and etc. But how the networks kind of differ is that they may be slightly more corporate based, or corporate facing, where there's less social interaction. They may be more heavily weighted on the developer side rather than on the business side. London's a very, very financial facing kind of place, and those are probably some of the key differences that I've noticed.
Amazing. Yeah, me myself, I've been to different communities around the world, and the community in London really has inspired me. City AM, which is a free newspaper, also has a crypto AM section. Thank you, James Bowata. I just really have been impressed with the community, and like you said, people who are in it for the long term, which is very rare, especially in 2017, right? So there's a lot of people that are just gone, just disappeared. So it is really important. I don't know how you felt, but I got so many text messages. So I think it's really interesting because we might be decentralized, and I'm all about decentralization, but we're so connected.
Oh yeah, well I suppose we call it hyper-connected for those people that are still here, right? So I mean, you're over in the States, I'm here in London. I've got some counterparties in Australia and parts of Asia, and all the time it's like, oh, can we jump on a quick call? I'm like, yeah, sure. And you almost have to follow up with what time zone are you in, because some of these groups, how wide they're spread. You could be having a conversation back and forth, and it's like, can we make this tomorrow? It's currently 3 a.m. It's like, oh, you're in Hong Kong? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I get
Yeah.
the buzz out of all the time is you're constantly creating new connections with people, whether it's simply hooking someone up with a bit of information, or that one little kind of key nugget that they could waste a whole week and a whole lot of money kind of finding, and you can give them the answer straight away. So someone this morning was asking, I need a crypto credit card payment gateway for my website. Okay, cool. Well, that's great. What else do you need? And it's like, well, I don't know. A couple of little questions, this. And it came down to they were basically starting a brand new token and wanted a credit card facility. And I'm like, that's probably not going to work because no credit card company is going to take the counterparty risk. And that's something that you probably won't find unless you get all the way down to the bottom line. They look at your business case. They looked at you made your own token yesterday, and then they'll cancel it. You won't be able to get that deal done. And that's just something, speaking from experience, that you won't be able to get, anywhere else unless you know people in the market that have tried to do it before.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I don't know if you've read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
A few times, actually, yeah. Always get something new out of it.
Oh, yeah. Rich Dad Poor Dad. Please check that book out. Start with that. He has a whole series. He's in Hawaii. I mean, almost every Hawaiian, just like Canadians, they're all cool, So in his book as well, his rich dad taught him certain principles, taught him strategies, all about the strats, right? And so like you're saying, we're able to help each other get through things without all that burden and going through all those mistakes. And that's so valuable. One of the things we're actually putting on a charity fundraiser for creators. And there is one bulk that we're raising for immediate needs, like people, no more gigs, they need rent, they need food. But there's a whole nother section of the charity, which is not charity in the regular sense of the word. It's basically they need a foot in the door or they need advice. Can you just give me the list of your vlogging equipment so I can go get that?
Yeah, exactly.
Those are hours and hours of research, so it's frog leaping, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's the how can I. It doesn't have to have a monetary value on it, but the one monetary value that a lot of people ignore when they're getting started in business, just like the charity thing you just mentioned, is time. How much time do you want to invest doing this? And there's heaps of free platforms, there's heaps of way to learn it and do it yourself. But at the end of the day, if it's a a £5 or a £15 job and it takes you a whole day to do it, you're spending way more time trying to invest in doing that rather than using your network. What is the really, really cliche one? Your network is your net worth. So the more people you can connect to, the better. The more the ripple effect you can cause, whether you're putting content out there, putting ideas out there, putting opinions out there, depending on what you're doing, and then sometimes that reflecting come back. And if you can make a business, build a network, and constantly put more out there than you're bringing in, and then you'll be wealthy in multiple ways.
Amen. I love that. And one of my mentors, he said that if you ask the world, how may I serve you? The universe will ask you back, how may I serve you as well? So this whole give and take, this beautiful collaboration, I really love that. And I'm kind of old school. Like I still call people. If you don't get a phone call from me on your birthday, you're probably not my friend.
And 4, I'm gonna count. I'm gonna watch out for that.
I'd like to call, I'd like to hear people's voices. That's why I'm loving the live thing, because I love to see people's faces. But the thing is, I would ask, Google's algorithms are not my friend. Kind of like how Alex Mashinsky not your friend. Google's not my friend. Their algorithms are based on something other than my well-being. So I prefer to ask a human being other than asking Google, the all-knowing Google, Uncle Google.
Uncle Google. That is very true. I think when I started, when we say about learning stuff before you can, and asking for help and etc. I've asked for help on kind of so many things. And it's very true. We said there is no stupid question. There's some people say, if you ever need anything, let me know. If you ever have a question, let me know. It's really good to, not lean on them and give them everything straight away, but just ask for, the, what do they say? What's that other book? Eat That Frog. Do the most difficult thing you do first, and everything else is easy. So if you have something you don't know, and someone it says, lean on me for help, or if you need anything, etc., ask them the biggest, hardest thing that they could possibly answer for you, and that will probably either lead on to another conversation, lead on to a bit of banter, you get more info for free, or it will set you down a path to ask a better question. And that's something that I've specifically gotten from crypto. Like when I got first involved in crypto, when I was 2013 was my first ever exposure to Bitcoin. I had never done a trade, I'd never owned a stock or share, never had a trading account, never had a business. I was an IT engineer, and at that point, I was more interested in my social standing in the company and trying to get more salary. I had to learn about this Bitcoin thing to help pay a client's ransom because they're a financial services company with no backups. Oops. Had to learn about Bitcoin. We sent some of their money over to another country. We got some numbers on a screen. We sent them somewhere else, and then we got the encryption key to get their data back. Awesome. And then 2013 was like, oh, this is interesting. Should we learn more about it? No, let's go to the pub. 6 o'clock. Oh, okay, let's go to the pub. And I never did anything about that until 2017
time
when
in London is really nice, especially in the summer. I understand why.
Yeah, but fast forward 4 years later, when Bitcoin's getting up to that kind of $1,000, $2,000 mark, and we're like, we had some Bitcoin in our wallet left over. Didn't what was the exchange rate? And I said, oh, dude, that backup disappeared like 2 years ago. It went from our online storage to our offline storage to our backup tapes, and it's been overwritten. Okay, that server and wallet's completely gone. And the salt in the wound was we backtracked some of the emails that we had back and forth at the time. So we sent X amount of money. This is the exchange rate, and lo and behold, we had like 74 Bitcoin like left over in that wallet that just got nuked. I'm like, okay, I should have paid more attention back in 2013. Now, yeah, that's a little salty wound, little intro to Bitcoin thing. But since then, when I started getting very interested in my own wealth, I started getting interested in, making money work for me, not the other way around. I built a small property portfolio. I raised some funding for a few property projects. I started a consulting business. I worked for SoftBank, the largest tech hedge fund in the world. Did 16 months with them, and halfway through, I was so inspired with what everyone was doing. I'm like, oh, why not I start a crypto startup at the same time? Why not? And so,
why not?
10-hour days turned into 16-hour days really quickly. Social life went down a little bit more, but I was, literally living my life. And now the result of that is that, I have a great team behind me. We just took in our 15th person this week. What day is it? Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday. So a week. We've gone through some really record growth throughout COVID, which has been awesome. And all of that is simply from, asking a question, getting an answer, asking another question, asking another question. And that's what I think I like about this space the most, is it doesn't matter how clued up you are on tech or investing or, developing, or it doesn't matter. There's always something else that's newer. There's always something else that's faster.
Yes.
And I guarantee there's someone else that's smarter than you, unless you're someone like Vitalik, and everyone else still listening. Big Vitalik fan, I like Vitalik. But I think that's what this space has to offer the most at the moment. So if you're not involved yet in crypto or blockchain, you don't have to be a developer. I guarantee you've got a transferable skill set to get involved, even as a product developer, a UX designer, a writer, HR, recruiting, marketing. It doesn't matter. Just get involved, because it is a really, really cool space to be in. And, it's pretty awesome being here on the moon. Come and join us.
I love that. Yes, I love the moon. Actually, have you heard of Comet Neowise?
I want to say no, but I think I've heard someone mention it, but I'm going to say no, so you can tell me what it is.
Okay, so don't mark my words. Just record them. But we're recorded and we're live. But yes, Comet Neowise. I think it's northwest. So a friend of mine took me to the mountain, and it can be only seen with a telescope or binoculars. And it's a comet in the sky. It's this brilliant color. It's only coming around every 7,000 years. So
that's a long time. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first time, we have this opportunity to see it, and this brilliant comet. And I completely forgot why I'm mentioning comet near-wise, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So, anyways, no, but back, I really don't remember, but it's a really cool thing. Please check out Cap Neowise. But what you were saying about, asking the questions and being curious, right? And I think the most simple thing was think about yourself. In the end, you can't help anyone or bless anyone or be anyone's mother or sister or lover or friend unless you're okay.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. It comes down to happiness, down to health, down to all that kind of stuff. You're not, if you're not you can't really give back to others. And that was probably one of my biggest first learnings when I built my first business, is I was so fixated on my goal of, I'm an only child. It's just myself and my mum these days. She lives back in Australia on the farm, and I grew up as a farm boy. Horses and the occasional cow, etc. Yeah. And I always wanted the big goal was to build this business that pays me a salary and also takes care of my family. But all the steps between starting and there's millions of steps in between that. And I had it up on my wall, and after kind of 2 years, I'd done a bit, but it didn't feel like enough. Because I set this big, crazy, hairy goal, which was great, right? But I hadn't broken it down to bite-sized chunks, and I hadn't ever rewarded myself as I went. So, the problem is that I set this, not an unachievable task, but I didn't have a plan on how to get there. And then, what really kind of popped the bubble and, not only brought me back down to earth, but also helped me, was that, my mum said, I'm only 55. I'm still going to be working for a while. I'm fine. I'm chilled. I'm going traveling next year. What are you doing? You're working your ass off trying to do this big, crazy goal. And, it's bring it back a bit, make it more about you. So I had, my reason why was just, and my reason why was, a really big one, but it was, it wasn't about me. And because it wasn't about me enough, I wasn't part of my own journey, if that makes sense. I was, still working the normal retail job. I was on a work visa, so I kind of didn't have a choice. I was doing, 15, 16-hour days and actually causing myself a lot more stress than even I have now. And also health issues. You'd be surprised how stress manifests itself, when you're either not healthy, not sleeping, over leveraged, and it materializes a lot of different ways, a lot of different people. Some people get gray hair, some people oversleep. When you're not working out, when you're not monitoring yourself, everything else deteriorates. Working really, really hard, 9 till 9 or 9 till 11, without anything in between, that's not working hard. That's just working for the sake of working. You have to have time out for a hobby. You have to have time out for a passion. You have to have time out to learn something. Even if it's drums or a saxophone or painting, or it doesn't matter, you need to move around and exercise. I actually have to leave my phone at home when I go to the gym and listen to the horrible music at the gym, because I've found that all of my juices flowing, new ideas, new energy and stuff comes from doing a workout. And what do you do when you have new ideas? You want to note them down. As soon as I start noting them down, I'll start working out. So I kind of, all the ideas that kind of make it home, I jot them down really quick and then go about my day. And that's an essential part of my day now, is that, waking up at a similar time, I like a lion, at a similar time every day, getting at least some sort of workout in, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. And operating in a healthy way, mentally and physically, to do the best work. Some people can do a whole day's of work in 4 hours, good on them, because they're so focused and so drilled and don't deviate. They only need 4 hours of work. Why should you do 8 hours, 4-hour task, And I've seen that happen to a lot of entrepreneurs when they quit the day job and go full-time in a business. The stuff they used to do on nights and weekends suddenly takes them a full 5 days a week, and they're not growing in any sort of way, emotionally, mentally, physically, or more importantly, financially, when you're in your own business.
Yeah, those are super important points. And one person that I can recommend, you mentioned breaking down your goals into bit-sized pieces. That might be the simplest piece of advice, but the most powerful piece of advice you can ever get. And if you're not grabbing a pen and grabbing a notepad and starting to jot down your big ideas and breaking it up into 12 months, into 6 months, into month, into day, into hour, right?
So yes,
yeah,
exactly. So I mean, I'm a super digital person, so I've got horrible handwriting. Like, I mean, this is kind of what.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's bad. So I can barely kind of take some of my own notes in. So I use a couple of project management tasks for personal and the business. Purely just as a bit of a note minder. I might delete it later if I don't need it. But the the task, subtask, subtask kind of thing works really well for me personally. So something like a Asana or a Monday.com, etc. Something like that that you can jot down and put a date on it, put a finish line. Literally put a line in. I'll put a line in the sand. I want to do this by then, and also I think having a physical copy of something like it's like maybe the monthly goals, the monthly milestones, and have them up on your wall where you see them every day. I've got goals
nice.
2020, 2021, 2022, and they these ones aren't even related to business. These ones are related to my personal life, family, travel, whatever. What else is going to be?
Nice.
I wanted to learn the drums for 2020. COVID kind of put a bit of a hamper on that, but that's something I always wanted to learn. I did a lesson on my birthday, and that was cool. And I wanted to pick it up when I came back from travel, and I came back to this. So we come back to COVID, so I'll pick it up another time. Back in 2016, 2017, I wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle. So I went and did a couple lessons. I got my learners, and that was cool. And I'm like, cool, I want a bike now. How do I afford that? Okay, I'll go do some deals. And I raised some funding. I got some commissions, and I bought my first bike. And I enjoyed that for quite a long time because I wanted to learn, the mechanics of it. I'd done drifting, drag racing, all that kind of stuff back in Australia, but I'd never learned how to ride a motorcycle.
Wow.
And that was a goal of mine, completely unrelated to work, to certifications, to tech, to finance. And it's a very dangerous depreciating asset. So, it's a pretty stupid thing to do, but it's something I really wanted for myself. And I think you need to have those things in front of you so you don't forget, because it's very easy to forget what they feel like unimportant goals when they're not business related. They don't pay you, they cost money, or whatever. You kind of need to have those in front of you at all times.
Yeah.
A wishing wall or a hope wall, something like that.
Hope wall. I love that. And I think, to go along with that, I do believe also having patience with yourself. Having patience.
That's true.
It's
you have up days. You have up days and down days. Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah. So what was my most recent goal was to get 20,000 followers on LinkedIn.
Wow.
So that I could go live, right? But that was before I decided to launch a startup. I did not decide to launch Give on Live. It decided to make me launch it, I guess. It chose me. So eventually I'm like,
pushed you out of your comfort zone.
It absolutely did, because I consider myself, you've done a lot of different things. You became a founder early on within this industry. I'm like kind of like the movie Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Bride. I'm always a freelancer, never a founder. And I'm happy like that. I have a consulting group, decentralized team. We get the contract, we get it done by Felicia. So it's great, and I loved it, and I love my job, and I love taking advantage of who I am and my language experience and my experience in Asia and myself as a Latina with mixed culture, and then all of a sudden. We're talking about this mission and we're getting ideas, and then 1 week and one hackathon and 2 hackathons, and the team is growing and the team is building, and it's like I guess I'm starting I'm a founder now. What?
But is this a startup? You don't really know.
Yeah, like what is this? A mission? Is it a startup? Is it a heart project? Is it a passion project? Like what is it?
Then it doesn't really matter. You're doing what you need to do, what you want to do, which is the more important thing.
Yes. And then but back to the point was I had a goal and I wanted to get 20,000 followers on LinkedIn so I could go live during the quarantine, right? So I'm not at 20,000. I think I'm around 8,000. I went from 2,000 to 8,000. But I wanted to be at 14,000 right now. Okay.
So is that followers or connections?
Hey, you can have a follower without having a connection.
Oh, you can? Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
Yes,
Right,
but
that's
mine
fine.
are mostly connections.
Yeah,
I believe,
same.
so yeah, so what happened was I was analyzing my progress, and it was about 2,000 per month on average. And I wasn't doing much content, except I was posting, not my own articles. I was just posting maybe twice a day, but I wasn't making articles. I wasn't posting pretty images. And so I realized, okay, well, if I want to up this and do this faster, I need to be creating compelling content like articles or pretty pictures people want to click on with motivational things. And then that can help double my followers without the connections, basically.
Mm.
Yeah.
How's it work for you so
Oh,
far?
and the I'm founding a startup, so I actually have no time. So I mean,
Make time.
Yeah, I think I just right now I have to allocate my time to Digicon. To we have a live stream festival coming up Friday that's called We Go
Awesome.
Live. So for now,
Yeah, I've seen the tag. Yep.
Yay! So for now, it's okay. Again, I'm giving myself grace, and I'm saying, okay, well, you know what? I'll keep it as it's going. It'll keep going, and it's okay if my that dreadful talk that I see on LinkedIn when your views go lower. It looks like the Bitcoin chart. So I don't like seeing a negative views going lower on my profile, but you know what? I'm going to focus on production this month, and I'll pick it up again next month. And it's okay. Kind of like the whole goals with, go ahead. Goals with fitness, for example.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's about consistency as well. I think if you carve out even 10 minutes, and for everyone else, not just for you, Christiana, but for everyone that does that, that 10-minute a day thing, what are 3 things you can do in 10 minutes? You can, do a bit of meditation,
nice,
get some mindfulness, you can do a bit of reflection, and you can do your social stuff. So if it is for business, adding a few new connections, putting some thoughts out there, maybe a single tweet, all those little bits kind of count. And there's a good friend of mine, you probably know her, Leah very well, Leah Halpin.
Yeah, she's out in Asia.
Yep, and she, she's been a good friend of mine for a while. We used to do a lot of interviews on Blocks Live TV, and when you go to her Twitter and you see how she's got a very established Twitter account, a very established following, and she's got like 14,000 tweets. I'm like, how do you tweet that much? Oh yeah, she's doing 2 to 3 or 4 a day, and engaging with her followers and engage with it. Yes. And that's how you get to those kind of big numbers. And it's about consistency. So while you may feel that you don't have a message now and you want to be able to share, I think just being a part of the conversation is probably more important than just trying to get to a numbered goal. And when you have your down days, you don't want to put yourself out there and you don't want to be judged and you want to kind of, just sit on the couch with a cup of Milo and an ice cream and just leave me alone. Like a Smeagol character or something like that. But there are other days where, you've got so much energy and you literally, you don't want to get off the ride. You know what I mean? And that's where I think finding a balance is super, super healthy. We talked about before about health, about mindfulness, about everything else, and getting that focus down. Because then all the stuff that doesn't matter will naturally drop off. That's probably one of those things out of Robert Kiyosaki, right? Like the delegate, dump, or do. What are the things that I'm doing that I don't need to do? What can I delegate? What do I actually want to focus on? I think just a few of those little, really tiny things can, I'm sure a lot of people are doing stuff they don't want to do or need to do, but they feel just socially pressured trying to keep up,
Yes. No, I 100% agree with that. And I think that tells us even more so to do what you love. And yet that might not be possible today. I've been a waitress. I've worked at a country club. I actually love those jobs. But I mean, I've taught little bratty kids things I didn't want to teach them. That was probably, I actually love serving. I don't love teaching kids, even though that was the most highest paying thing probably. But once you start being able to do those things, because you're gonna need cash flow, you gotta pay the rent, you gotta do those things until you don't have to do those things ever again. Yeah. That's huge. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This whole mission is to meet creators like you, share your content. So we will be posting your schedule, if it's okay with you, on the public live stream library. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. And just give us so yesterday's episode. Can you just give us a taste of what that content was about?
Yeah, so yesterday's episode for Coin Pass podcast, episode 1. We've got another 7 that are pre-recorded, going to go out every week is our goal for the rest of the year, once a week. Was actually was with a good friend of mine, Cameron Dickey for B2C2. They're a cryptocurrency liquidity provider, and we talked about basically the lightning rod moment that happened a few weeks ago with Wirecard. That went from a speculation story to completely insolvent from a Monday to a Friday, and all the companies that kind of got taken with it. So Wirecard were I don't really know, were a card issuer. So anyone that had a crypto debit card or a fintech debit card, etc., $2 billion missing on their balance sheet. Created through creative accounting, etc. I think just the speed of the internet showed that it was kind of like another Enron moment. If everyone wants to Enron, Google Enron, it just happened faster. Faster than anything else anyone's ever seen in terms of news spreading like wildfire. And we talked about basically, the collapse of that particular business and what it kind of meant for crypto. Crypto and online gambling and adult services were basically about 35, nearly 40% of Wirecard's income and revenue. So them obviously closing shop had a huge ripple through a lot of those kind of what we call high risk merchants. And crypto space specifically has really, really good marketing, and we're exceptionally loud. So crypto specifically had quite a loud voice, and we're pointing a lot of fingers in both directions when this whole collapse happened. And the real thing we talked about on that episode was where was the failing and where were the red flags? What is this? What is this? Is this an opportunity for crypto? Is this an implication? Is it a failing of the auditors? That was supposed to be looking at these books and finding this stuff before it imploded. Was it a fail of the regulators giving this unicorn basically free reign to do whatever they wanted? And is there an opportunity for the UK here to really step up on the global stage and be a global crypto and blockchain regulatory leader now that this kind of fallout has happened? And we had some really, really good chat about that. So it's worth a watch, very easy to digest. We made a really good video copy of it on YouTube, and you can grab the audio on pretty much any of the audio streaming sites.
Amazing. I'm personally very looking forward to that. You mentioned Enron. You mentioned a few things from history. If let's play a little game here. So now that we've decided that sometimes it's better to talk to human beings instead of Uncle Google, what are maybe 3 questions? So let's say we have some people out there, some audience members who have older people in their lives that remember these Mount Gox and remember these things. What maybe 3 topics that you would say, hey guys, go out there, find someone senior than you and ask them about this instead of asking Uncle Google. What are the 3 things you would ask someone older?
Really, really good question. So 3 things I would ask to gain knowledge. Can I go back in time travel and like profit from it, or is it just about learning?
No. This is an action point. This is a real
an action point. Oh, we have to talk about real stuff. I was going to have so much fun with that. So I think if you want to ask someone, how, especially if they've ever made any money in business, if they've ever made money selling a business, scaling, all that kind of stuff, how they did it kind of pre-internet. So how did you ever start, like, let's go back like 70s or 80s and something like that. How did those, people that got quite wealthy or, did really well and have their own business, how did they source customers, marketing, all of those kind of things? Because you couldn't go and do online research on, this is what the US economy did yesterday. You can't figure that stuff out. It was all month to month, year to year. How do you pivot a business like that when your data is, either unavailable or, we don't have this hyper-connected society where I can look at, our exposure and impressionisms, search traffic, social media exposure on a report on my mobile while I'm on my run. You can't do that. So I think, the business experience and how they built and scaled a business back before the internet would be really invaluable, because I think some of those old school tricks just never die. I think they could be used as a really good format to build even better. I would say, taking some of the learnings with someone that, again, on the flip side, that lost a lot of money. What was the market like, and what was the euphoric I suppose, experience of going through, the dot-com bubble of the 2000s. What was it like
Nice.
going through, the 2008 global financial crisis, as a business owner or as a property developer or something like that, and, what were the telltale signs, it was so easy to get credit. It was so easy to do this. It was so easy to do this. Like, why weren't you kind of more eyes open? Is it just pure opportunity, or was there, something else that you were missing? And then I think, I suppose the ones that are, truly successful, the ones that have time on their side now, is, what would they do different? If they've gone through and, seen the highs, seen the lows, done the business, done the family stuff, have the time to spend with their children, grandchildren, kind of, the fortunate ones like that, what would they do different? Cycle it back, do a bit of, human machine learning, put a bit of input in. What's the output? Do it again, kind of reverse psychology a bit. What would they do differently knowing what they know now? Ignoring tech, ignoring, geopolitical stuff, with the opportunities that they had, that they took advantage of, is it something that they would have done differently?
Yes.
Oh, I would have focused on, this earlier on, because I could have gone bankrupt 3 times. It wouldn't have mattered. Go bankrupt before you turn 30. That's probably their first advice. They didn't use enough credit, debt, or leverage, because at this point in time, they were throwing out loans and business loans and this to anyone that wanted it, and I could have gone that and spent it on marketing or a marketing person or whatever. And then, or I should have, gotten out of these sort of deals earlier than I should have. I didn't think we were at the top, and then everything fell off a cliff. So I think some of those things, from a very, someone that got really lucky, someone that's lost it all, and that someone that played it actually got a good result, and kind of how would they do it differently, and what did they do, and how did they get access to data, and that kind of stuff just kind of boggles me, because I left school in 2002 and the internet was around. Yes, we had it in Australia. Wasn't very fast, but we still had it. And everything was very high street. You had to go out and find the things you wanted to buy. Someone that had a really nice suit or a hat, or they had to go and get that from somewhere, and you had to go and find it. You couldn't just go online and source it tomorrow. And that's 2002. It's not even that long ago. But before that, getting to early 90s, late 80s, all that kind of stuff, that's where I think there is just a huge wealth of knowledge that is not online for people to benefit enough from, because some of the ways that people used to scale a business before the internet, I think is truly remarkable. There are some people that have all these tools, have all this access. All of it's either free, cheap. You can get a lot of it, on the cheap to start with, and then scale, and still fail. So, and there's nothing wrong with failing. I would say fail as fast as possible if you're ever going to do something. But just imagine, how would you do it without it? How would you get out to 1,000 people, or however many people are on Twitter at the moment? How would we get our message out to these people without it? And the other risks involved.
Right.
And I think do a risk analysis on what tech does for your business versus doing which is or not using it. What's the risk of not doing it? That'd be my biggest thing.
Hey Jeff, you're going all out consulting session at this point. Yes, amazing. Well, yeah.
Put a QR code with I should put a QR code with a Bitcoin address so I can get some donations.
Exactly. Actually, we're adding that feature. We're adding that feature, direct donations to speakers. So great. So you basically said successes, asking those people successes, failures in decision making, and then some things that they would change. What I would say is take those same 3, and even if you don't have or have an interest or want to ask someone that related to business, ask that to your grandma, to your grandpa who is in business.
No, I would say,
if he's a farmer.
Anyone of age, because they've probably been there and seen it. They go, "Oh, I didn't want to touch that. It's too risky for me." Like, why?
Wait, but what I'm saying as well, not only that, is about, even if they weren't in tech, even if they weren't in business, why did you choose to marry grandpa? And why did you have 8 babies, grandma? Like, why you didn't stop? Why not? Or like, would you have not had that many babies, grandma?
Yeah. And no, I think definitely that generational kind of handover of knowledge. Their reason why and their decision making why. Stuff that I did early on when I was younger, when I was building cars and racing and that kind of stuff. And my mum, God bless her for all the advice and everything she's done to help me through my life. Some of her opinion at some point was, she left school at this age, so she doesn't have that advice for me. So you're gonna have to go and find it or learn it or make the mistakes yourself. And I thought that was amazing, because it allowed me to, fail faster. Like, I'm going to go get a personal loan and put a turbocharger in my car. She's like, I don't think it's a good idea, but go for it. All that kind of dumb stuff you do when you're young and got cash. So, I definitely think, like you say, asking someone if they're not in tech, not in finance, not in whatever, asking them why or why not. What's their opinion? Why did they not? Yeah. And I think that's a really, really good thing. It means you can talk to literally anyone about anything as well. Big open box there.
Yeah. And talking to humans, even 6 feet apart, even through a mask, it's valuable. Uncle Google's great, but, sometimes there's things that get passed down, wisdom that you can only get from talking to a real life human being. So
couldn't agree more.
On that note, thank you, Jeff, for streaming in with us all the way from London. Thank you so much for your stories, and we just so appreciate you. And guys, okay, tell us again. Tell us your handle. Let's follow.
Sure. We got at CoinPass Global is the main page, so that has all of our articles, all the new stuff that's coming out. And we do meme a little bit as well, just for fun. My personal Twitter is Jeff_CoinPass, so you can find me on there. I'm always engaging with people. It's kind of one of my chosen platforms now. We are across Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that as well, so we have different media on different pages. And if you just want to come and check out the site, it's www.coinpass.com. We serve people in the UK and Europe, and we're looking to expand further around the globe very soon.
Amazing. And by the way, Jeff said that he asks his mentors the toughest questions. So hit him up on Twitter,
For sure. Anything I can help with, I guarantee I either have the answer or I can find it for you. One of the two.
Amazing. Maybe Jeff is Uncle Google. Who knows? Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel here. We're having amazing content, not only for the tech channel, but also for the music channel, for entertainment. So please just join us. Stay up to date and give us your feedback. Give us your questions. This will be up and available for the next week, and then it's going to be taken down for post-production. So we're so thankful for you guys, and so thankful to you, Jeff, from CoinPass. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks. Captain Ahab. CA. Are we still live, Captain? Captain Ahab, he's probably muted. He was supposed to stop it. Either way. Captain Ahab, the hour is up. We're done, right? Yes, please end the stream. Captain Ahab. Okay, that was such a pleasant conversation, Jeff. Thank you.
No problem. My pleasure.
Yeah.